Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today, as you can see, no makeup on, so I'm going to be doing a full face of Revolution and Revolution Pro, trying out some of the new products that I bought the other day, such as like the Renaissance Flick and the new Revolution Pro mattifying primer. So I'm gonna just put some makeup on my face and see what we think. Some of these products I have used before, some are favourites, some like the foundation, as you can see, is pretty much half empty, but other things are new to me and we're just going to see what we actually think. Okay, so we're going to start with the mattifying primer. I'm just going to give that a little shake. So it's quite silicone-y as it comes out. So that feels super smoothing. And it has taken down a lot of the oils because my nose was quite shiny from where I'd moisturised. So definitely mattifies. My cat's new trick that she has figured out she can do. Okay, so we're going to start with eyebrows, and I'm going to use the Revolution Pro Microblading Effect Precision Pencil that I bought the other day. I went with dark brown because I thought ebony would be too dark, but I do quite like a dark brow, so I'm thinking I maybe could have got away with a darker pencil. Let's try it with a bit heavier hand. Okay, so when we turn to the light, it's just a little bit lighter because my brows, as you can see, some of them are very, very light. They are there, but they're very blonde. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my Revolution eyebrow palette. I'm gonna go in just with a mix of the creams and just deepen up just deepen up that end. And go over it with the powder just to set it. Okay, so that's not too bad. Just filling my arch a little bit because from years of over plucking, having them waxed quite thin, you do have to just fill in there. Okay, so that's not too bad, so I'm just going to go off camera, do my other one quick, and then we'll be back to put some eyeshadow on. Okay, so I've got some brows on now. I'm just going to take some of the, where's it gone? The Revolution Pro Full Coverage Concealer to carve out my brows and prime my lids for some eyeshadow. And every time I want to film, my cat goes nutty. Okay, sorry about that. So we're gonna now carve out the brows. Just take a bit of concealer on a flat brush and run it up into the high point into the arch, then down onto the lid. And it's super pigmented, so it makes a perfect eye base. As you can see, pretty much blanks out everything on the lid. It is quite oily, so I don't use it under my eyes, but for putting eyeshadows on top, it's nice and sticky, so it creates a perfect base. There we go, just cleans up that brow a bit. Okay, and then I just take my finger and pat over to make sure it's all sunken into the skin nice and we've not got too much excess, because the eyeshadows won't sit over the top very well otherwise. Just be careful to keep that line nice and neat where your brow is. And then I just like to wipe the excess off on a baby wipe. Okay, so we're nice and blanked out on the eyes now. And today I'm going to take two different eyeshadow palettes, which are the Pro HD 35 amplified ones. This one is in neutral warms and this one's in naked golds, which is pure shimmers. So I'm going to use one of the shimmers on the lid, but to start with I'm going to take the warm, try not to blind you, the warm neutrals. I'm going to take a nice big sort of medium fluffy brush and take this third one up here and mix it just with that first colour, just to set that base, because like I say, it's quite a tacky concealer, so it just takes any excess stickiness and oiliness away. Just taking it right up to the brow bone, make sure it's set up into that eyebrow. Okay, and then I'm going to take my Morphe brush, which I can't find. These three brushes, they're all same shape, all out of the, I don't know where you can buy them from now, possibly on the Morphe website. They were all in the set, the brush set that you could get on Beauty Bay, which was the eye brush set, and they're all just near enough the same shape, just different sizes. So I'm going to take the biggest of them all and go in with this quite big palette, this orange terracotta shade on the second row, tapping off some of that excess. And I'm going to put this straight into my crease. And then I like to take no extra product on the brush, the edge of the brush, and just window wiper motions over that edge. Just blends out and blurs all those edges, so I've got no harsh lines. And I'm going to mix the same colour that I've just taken in with this brown down here on the second from last row. And again, go in with that, stamping it into my crease, just to deepen that up. And as you can see, that adds a nice warm tone to that. Just keeping it a bit more concentrated into the crease. And going back with the other brush, just a small tap in with the other colour just to diffuse those edges. Just keep building that pigment up in the crease, and then blending out with nice small circular motions, and then with the brush on the edge, nice windscreen wipers. Okay, so we've got a nice warm crease there. Concentrating the colour on the outer corners to open the eyes up to keep the inner corners nice and bright. And then I'm going to go in with the smallest of the Morphe brush set into this deep dark brown here, which is a nice warm toned brown. And place that down on that outer corner. And just ever so slightly bringing it into the crease, just to deepen it up, but only with a very light hand, keeping it more onto the outer corner. And keep going back in with the last brush just to keep those edges nice and diffused, keep that warm tone running through. I don't always go in with a shimmer on the lid. Sometimes I like to keep it matte and put this darker colour all over the lid, and then smoke out the bottom lash line, give a nice smoky brown look, which looks quite autumnal, looks quite nice in with a nude lip. So again, stamping that colour on the outer corner, and you just keep going backwards and forwards until you think you're nice and matched up. Like I said, keeping it mainly focused on the outer corner and just bringing it slightly into the crease, but keeping it this darker colour away from the inner corner, especially if you've got small hooded eyes. You want to keep your inner corner as light as possible because that opens your eyes up. Keep blending, and if you do think you've got any harsh lines, I like to take this is a very big fluffy brush, it's the Real Techniques out of the eye set, I do believe, and I just clean brush, no product, I just go over those edges and it just blurs any lines out completely and gives you a nice seamless blend. Okay, so we're going to now take the Pro Amplified, which is Naked Golds, and I think I'm going to go in for a warmer orange tone, I think. Let's have a look. Well, I quite like both of those. I think I'm going to go with these two today. The Revolution Pro eye pencil, which comes in a lot of their eyeshadow palettes. I like to take this, and I'm going to take that darkest colour, which is the second in on the third row, which is like a copper orange colour, if we can see that. And I'm going to keep that to the centre of the eye. Using a flat brush helps pack on all that pigment. Just taking it, because we're not doing a cut crease today, just taking it to where the natural crease is to keep it more of a natural warm tone. If I was doing a cut crease, I would take this slightly higher, just so you get a bit more pigment when you open your eyes. And if you wanted a bit more metallic pigment payoff, you can always spray the brush with a setting spray, with a water-based product. It just brings the metallic to life a bit, which I'm gonna do with the gold, the gold shade, which I like to pack it onto my brush, and then I'm going to take the Revolution Pro Fix and just squirt that. I like to keep it away so it's not too close, and then I'm going to go in from the inner of my eye, and as you can see, that's nice and metallic now. Blend that up to the copper shade that we've just used. And what I like about these, they have a fluffier side to them. And what I do, just to blend those two together, I take a little bit of both colours, mix together on the fluffier end, tap off any excess, and just zigzag along that crease, just where they meet. And it just helps to blend them seamlessly. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in with the brush that I used, that I put down. The brush that I used for the darker shade. And I'm going to go back into the original neutral warms, and take that darker shade, tap off excess, and then I'm just going to blend into the crease. Like I say, I want this quite a natural warm toned eye. Okay, so now that we've hardly got any fallout as well, just a little bit of glitter there, so I'm just gonna, don't even really need to brush that away. So really like those, and like I say, lovely and shimmery, as you can see from the swatches on my hand. A little bit flaky, but that's more because they're a metallic, but once you damp those down, you don't get that problem. So I'm going to leave, actually, I'm going to go in with some black liner. I'm not going to do a wing today, I think I'm just going to do a line just to deepen up that lash line. So it's nice and thin, as you can see from that nib there, it's nice and thin. So I'm just going to drag this along my lash line. So that's super black, super pigmented. And as I'm going back over, it's not lifting or anything. Okay, so we've got a nice black line just tying everything together there. And now we're going to go in with the face. And the foundation we are going to use today, which I showed you a little bit earlier, is the Revolution Pro Drop Foundation in the shade F2. And this is definitely a foundation that I'll be repurchasing. Through summer I have worn this a lot because it is so lightweight but you still get the coverage. So it has been perfect for summer, not too heavy, but you still feel like you get plenty of coverage. And because it's quite a liquidy foundation, I like to just take a buffing brush and just buff it out a little bit first. Okay, so as you can see, it's a little bit pale for me at the minute, but that's because I went on holiday last month, but we will be able to fix that with some bronzer to warm up. So I just put a little bit extra on my cheeks because that's where I like my coverage. And then I go in with my Revolution sponge and just press it in to my skin just to make sure it's all well worked in. And as you can see, it's a bit of a dewy finish, but once it is powdered down, that's not an issue. Okay, and then I'm going to take my Conceal and Define in C1 and just help if I had a bit more product in it. I'm going to take this and just brighten up under my eyes. A little bit on my chin and on the edge of my nose, and then again take my sponge, pressing that in, and as you can see, even though it's a pale base, we've got a flawless base. This foundation, I was a bit wary at first because it is quite liquidy and it is quite dewy, but it wears perfectly, even on oily skin. And I think it's £7, I do believe. I'll list everything down below so you can see exactly what I've put on my face. And then I'm going to go in with one of my favourites, which is the Revolution Lace Setting Powder. And just put that into, I just use an old powder lid and I just tip that into the lid and go in with my sponge again and press under my eyes. And then because this foundation is just a little bit too pale for me at the minute, I'm just going to add in some of the Banana Revolution powder, just a little bit, and then take a big fluffy brush and just mix them together on the brush, tap off the excess and just set the rest of my base in place. Wiping away any excess from that bake if there's any left. That wasn't a proper bake, but just to make sure we're not too powdery. Okay, and as you can see, I'm now nice and matte. Make sure, bring it down the neck, make sure everything's set to the hairline. There we go. And then for contour, I'm going to go in with the Revolution Pro HD contour palette in Fair. I'm going to take this brush, which looks quite big for a fluffy brush, but it's not that densely packed, so it's quite nice for contouring. And I'm just going to mix these two shades, which are the fairest shades in the palette. Just wipe my brush through both. And then I just take the brush on the side. And just drag that along my cheekbone. Just creating that perfect shadow, just to give the face a bit of definition, and then just taking the excess along my jawline, and then just taking the very lightest, slightly warmer shade, tiniest bit on, like literally just tab it in, shake off any excess, and then I'm just gonna go down the sides of my nose. And the good thing about this foundation and powder, once it's set, it doesn't separate on the nose, so you don't get any sort of flakiness or patchiness, which I know some foundations do. Okay, and then I'm going to go in to bronze, because like I say, I need to warm this face up. I'm going to take the All About Bronzed, which is a bit mucky and a bit well used. But I'm going to take that on a medium fluffy brush, and I just like to swirl around these bottom 4 shades just to get a nice mix on my brush, tap off any excess, and then starting at the back of the cheekbones, warming up my face. I do like quite a warm toned bronzer. Even though I'm quite pale, I do like a warm toned orange undertone, which I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. Warming up my forehead, make sure you take it right up into the hairline. So next I'm going to go into the blush palette, which is called Hot Spice, which is like a peachy pink tone, and I like to take it's depends how I'm feeling, how much blush I want. I take either a nice small one or a bigger brush. And today I think I'm going to take a bigger brush because I want to diffuse some of that colour a bit more. And I'm just going to swipe through all apart from these two highlighting shades, just to get a nice, because all of these colours do suit me, I can do that, just to get a nice flush of colour on the cheeks. I like to focus it mainly on the apples, but then bringing it up to where that bronzer is, just to brighten up and warm up my face. And then I just go back over with my powder brush, any excess powder, just to pat that all down, make sure everything is nice and seamless. Make sure there's no harsh lines, everything's nice and blended. I was going to go in with the Revolution Pro highlighting palette. Found it. Which I can just about get away with this shade, which is the gold one, which is the Supreme Highlighters. And I like to take it on this brush, which is at the Morphe eye set again, but as you can see, it is quite big for an eye brush, but it's perfect for just putting the highlighter on those cheekbones. So I'm just going to go into the white gold shade, tap off the excess, and just like to buff that into the skin. Let me know if this lighting setup's any better. I've not put my cool toned LEDs on, so because I do know some people were saying that the lighting wasn't great on the last makeup tutorial, so I like to put a little bit on the edge of my nose and onto my top lip. And then I just take my Real Techniques precision brush, which is just the flat precision brush, just to blend under my brow, into the brow bone. And because of the tones, because we've gone for the copper gold tones in the eyeshadow, this is a perfect highlighter for this. So just for under eyes, because we've kept it quite sparkly on top and we want to keep it quite neutral, I'm just going to take the same brush and those two warmer tones that we used as our crease colour, and I'm just going to run those along my lower lash line. Actually, I'm going to take a flat brush for this because I always find that they go on a bit better with a flatter brush. Okay, so that's gone on better. Gone in with a flat brush first, and then I will just go with the big fluffy brush just to blend that out. This just ties the whole eye look together, just bringing that up, make sure it's all blended. Bringing it up to blend with that outer corner. Okay, and then as a highlight for the inner corner, because we've gone in with the white gold, may as well use it on the inner corner because it's nice and brightening. So I'm just going to take a thicker pencil brush, load some of that colour up on there and place that straight in to the inner corner. So because we've gone quite neutral on the eyes, I'm thinking we're going to go nude. So I'm going to take one of the Retro Luxe lip kits, and I think I'm going to go dark on the lips. So I think I'm going to take Noble, and I'm just going to outline that lip. Because of how pigmented these liquid lipsticks are, you don't actually have to go in with the lip liner. It just makes it easier. Okay, so I'm just going to go put some mascara on because that is the only product that I think Revolution don't do is a mascara or any eyelashes. So I'm just going to go put some mascara on and I'll be back to show you the finish. Okay, so I've now put on just some mascara today, not any lashes. And just to finish up the look, I'm going to go in with the Revolution Pro Fix just to set everything in face, get rid of that powdery look. I like to just keep my eyes closed because I don't want to crease anything while it's wet. So this is the finished look. Like I say, I've used a few new products today. I am loving how my base is looking with the Revolution Pro Matte Primer. So I will definitely be giving that a few more tries because I'm looking super smooth and only shiny where I've put my highlighter, which is obviously what everyone wants. This Flick eyeliner, really thin, so easy to do, and it's dried down perfectly black, not lost any of its pigmentation. The only thing that I will say was the brow pencil was just a bit light for me, so I think I'm gonna have to go back and get a darker colour. But everything else, everything new that I've tried, I've loved. Just put the LEDs on just so we can see that highlighter. And just to show off that eye look. So just nice and shimmery, nice warm. So as a few of you will have seen, the new Revolution Conceal and Define foundation is coming out. So I will be doing a test with that. and if it's as good as the concealer, I think it will be one of my new favourites, so keep an eye out for that. I'm gonna do, still got the Imagination Highlight to the Moon palette, which I will be doing along with the eyeshadow palette, because I love some of these warmer tones in here. Some of the pinks and reds are absolutely gorgeous, and that orange is amazing. Absolutely amazing on the eyes. So that will be coming up, so give this a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Hit subscribe and turn on the notifications, and everything else will be linked down below, all the makeup, all social media, so Instagram and Twitter, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!